All right. Hello, everyone. It's me. I'm back in front of the easel. I have a canvas up here. I have liquid clear on the canvas. I do not know what is wrong with me or what's going on that I'm using liquid clear all the time. You could easily, just as easily use liquid white. So do whatever. Liquid white just kind of dilutes the color a little bit, diffuses it maybe. So what we're going to do is take some Indian yellow, and I'll show you my palette real quick here. And then I probably won't show you the palette too much. It's just it's a pain to kind of hold and paint in my space that I have here. Don't really have a rhyme or reason why I put the colors out like this. But titanium white, there's a touch of midnight black, Indian yellow, Van Dyke brown, and then that's yellow ochre. I don't know why. I was trying to decide what colors to put out, so they're kind of all separated here. I usually put my yellows together, but these two, they have the brown there in the middle with them. All right, so these are the colors I'm going to use. And again, I've got liquid clear, but if you want to paint this one, use liquid white. It may be easier. It will just not be quite as bright as mine. That's okay. So we're going to try to stick with mainly using yellow and brown. I may have to use a little bit of black just to kind of darken up something. So let's go start up wherever. You can start in the middle, and then, move it on out, or wherever. I mean, shoot, I can start right here if I want to, okay? And really, what I like to do with this liquid clear on the canvas, just kind of scrub the color in. This way you don't have too much paint on the canvas, and it seems to work a little better than the X strokes for the liquid clear. So X strokes are kind of what Bob would use there, and that works. But really grinding that brush and putting the paint into the canvas really seems to work well, especially for the liquid clear. And again, if you use the liquid clear, just make sure you don't have too much. You may want to flap a little bit back off. I don't usually. I'm used to using it though, so but be careful with it. You may be better to just stick with the liquid white. Yeah. Nothing wrong with liquid white at all. So I'm wanting this really bright yellow and the browns and all that stuff to go here. So I'm using some bright colors. And you can see I'm doing this all over. And I started to have this done before I put the video on, but I figure, hey, you may want to see it. We can do it pretty quick. A couple minutes of just me throwing color on the canvas and rambling. How about that? That's the way everybody wants to spend their time, right? Alright, and what you'll want to watch for this liquid clear and using the color, sometimes you'll get back to the canvas with it. You don't typically see that with the liquid white. So just be aware of those things as you're using them. See, it's kind of a yellow color, but it's also it has a little orange to it to me. Especially the Indian yellow right now that the company is selling. That's the Bob Ross paint that I use. So I think we're probably good to go there. And we'll just kind of use some level strokes here. And I don't mind if I have brighter spots and lighter spots and darker spots. Really, that's okay. It's the way a natural landscape works. So I'm thinking I'm going to do a little seascape. And it's going to be an easy seascape. It's not going to have those big breaking waves that Bob does. This would be one that maybe would get you started with some water, a coastal area maybe, and see if you really want to paint a bunch of those. So I've got Indian yellow. Yeah, Indian yellow. I'm going to go to yellow ochre now. Yellow ochre is a little more gold. A little bit more gold. And we'll darken up the top of the canvas there with that Indian, or the yellow ochre over the Indian. There we go. Like I said, this will be a yellow painting. Hopefully it'll be nice and bright there. It's almost just making the corners dark, so it kind of draws our eye right to the center, right? So kind of as I do this, I'll just talk a little bit. I need to find me a good painting tool. I know you guys can hear a squeaky chair. If you are here from Facebook, you probably saw live where I would do back in last year in the middle of the year, and Squeaky Chair was a star. But Squeaky Chair is starting to get on my nerves because I can hear it squeaks all the time. So I like to sit, I like to be in front of the easel and sit and paint, unless I'm teaching a class, and then I stand. That's kind of up to you how you do it. I am looking for me a new chair. And you guys are like, well, why are you telling us this? I don't really know. I don't like the silence, I guess. Alright, I'm just putting some dark down here now, too. Somewhere down here there's going to be, this could be water eventually, somewhere. There'll be water. I'll just throw a little bit down there. See how that darkened that up? Darken the corners up. And if you wanted to, you've seen me do this before. Let me grab one here. I've got 82 brushes sitting out. And I have that many brushes, and I always go for the same one. So I'm trying to find the one I like. Yeah, that one will do. I'll grab a fan brush. And you could do this with a 2-inch. I think it's easier just take a fan brush and maybe just throw some little things happening up here. I mean, literally just kind of stirring that brush around. Now be careful, I'll show you. Maybe you'll be able to see. It's moving that paint around. That liquid clear is a little different than liquid white. So it does kind of cut back through the paint, it seems. Something there if we wanted to. We could throw some over here if we wanted to, really. You know, just some movement in the sky. We're also going to put some brown ones in there, so and I'll just kind of blend these down a little bit. Blend them out. Didn't really care for that one anyway, so we'll get rid of it. So when I'm painting these, I've actually painted a similar one to this, but usually when I'm painting these little videos, I don't know where I'm going. And that's not a joke. These are not Bob Ross episodes that I'm painting. I paint Bob style, and I'm a certified Ross instructor, but these are usually my paintings that I'm painting. And sometimes I don't like what I put up there and I change it. That's the way you can be at home too. You can sit there and be like, I don't like that. Blend that cloud back into the sky. It doesn't have to be there. There's no need for it to be there if you don't like it. So I'm going to take just a touch of Van Dyke Brown on my brush. And what I would advise on this step is just maybe wipe the color back out and leave that kind of almost dry, but there's paint in there. Does that make sense? I want to just put some darkness up here in these corners. I don't want to kill all the ochre that I put in there, but I am going to stir some little stuff happening. And you could use, you can use this brush. You could use a little filbert if you wanted to. You could use the 1-inch, 2-inch. Goodness, you got whatever, you know. Okay, something like that, and then maybe blend a little bit. And I'm just going to blend. This is a little different than blending like white clouds. I'm just going to blend the whole thing, okay, and just go over it a little bit like that. This is just for some darkness up there. Not that we want a lot of dark in our lives, but sometimes we need a little bit in the painting. Add a little bit more paint to my brush. Maybe darken it up just a little bit more. And kind of have some little clouds just kind of wisping along here. Let me darken it up right there. I'll leave some of that there. There we go. Okay. And then maybe there's something over here that kind of, oh, I don't know, floats in, right? Who knows, really? Who knows? And wipe my brush off a little bit and then go back to it and just doing little tiny circles until I like the cloud. Now there is a point to where you got to say that's enough, right? Because if you don't, what will happen is you'll just make a muddy mess. Now the good thing is if you wipe that liquid clear back off and, you know, start with a drier canvas than normal, the liquid clear is kind of a nice advantage for that over the liquid white, because a lot of times you don't wipe the liquid white off at all. You can. Just really, painting in this method is just figuring out what works. And what works for you may not work for everybody. So just because I do something up here does not mean that it's right. You've got to figure out what feels good to you, how the brush moves in your hand, and kind of just go with it. I just threw a little bit up there. Really nothing. Alright, I want a little bit more. Just a little bit more clouds in the sky. Yeah, I don't want to lose my nice. This is going to be called Golden Coast. I've already decided a name here. So, if you're watching, you already know the name. Of course, if you're watching, it's likely got it in the title. So, we'll just throw. Let me just smash some dark up in there too. I want a little more of a piece of cloud there. And it could, you can have some of these things just floating in here. It doesn't really matter. Blending that out a little bit. Blend it out. Good bit over here, actually. We just get up in here and just kind of stretch those out. They're just little clouds wisping around in the sky. You've seen that before. And these are not. Then we can just go over the whole thing if we want to with 2 hairs and some air. Just to set that down in there. So this painting has water starting up above midways. So once we think about that, we've got to kind of stop and figure out what we want to do. Now I'm going to leave those clouds dark just for a little bit, and I'll put the rest of the painting in. I think, no, I changed my mind. Another little thing you can do here, if you wanted to. You could say, well, there's a little bit more light. Oh, I meant to put a little yellow ochre and some white. I didn't put any yellow ochre in my paint. And I get like a goldeny, sunshiny color there. And on the tops here, you can put a little bit of sunlight, or a little bit of light hitting there. And then if I had my blender brush, probably nice. But I'm going to take a clean 1-inch and just kind of lightly knock that whitish, or the goldenish white, back into the cloud just a little bit. Stir it up a little bit there. There we go. Okay? Add a little more yellow ochre to it. Like I said, these are not planned really, so I may not like it once I do it, and then I have to figure out how to fix it. And that's the biggest thing, learning that you can fix whatever happens up here. It releases you almost to really, I'll grind that out a good bit there, to really kind of go at it. It's a really fun feeling when you know that you can go up here, put paint up here, and if you don't like that paint, you can take it off and you can do something different. Right? I mean, that's just carefully put a little bit here. But that's really, I think, what Bob was trying to teach us, is that, there, Mike, it needs better. I'm just kind of swirling in a little bit of clouds there. Just a hint of light hitting some places. Just blend them out just a little bit. Blend them with just kind of the corner and doing some little circles. Okay. There we go. That's better. But I think that's what Bob was really trying to teach us, is to not be scared. That even though the darkness may come and we have to deal with things in the world, that you can always fix them. But I'm going to put a little bit more dark back in that one. Don't like how white that one got. There we go. Just kind of like that. There we go. That's much nicer. Take my big brush. Now, if you're just starting out, blending with this big brush may get a little bit much for you. I like it though. The 2-inch brush seems to be a little bit softer than the 1-inch, so it really helps with the blending process. Go throw a little bit up in there even. Wherever we think there'll be something playing against those clouds. And we've already spent a good bit on the sky. We don't need to. Let's just stop. I think it looks pretty good. pretty good. Alright, one other thing we can do to the sky real quick. I can take my brush that I was using to blend the little clouds with 1 inch, and I can grab a little bit of that yellow and white, mostly white. Mostly white. Somewhere in here. And probably easier, guys, to do this step, since you're watching me. Do this step before you put the clouds in. I didn't know if I was going to do this or not, because see, I've got to blend it a little bit out. You don't want just a blob of white there. It's got to kind of diffuse out. So just kind of walk it out like that. Okay. Then you get a nice bright spot there in the sky, and you could go back. If you want it brighter, you could go back. Go back into it. Add a little bit of yellow ochre if it gets too white on you. And just kind of work it out in all the directions. Again, this is why I say maybe now that you're watching me, do this after, or do this before you do your clouds, before you do all the sky. And then this is going to be a challenge right here. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I'm going to put it. I really shouldn't have put that in the middle, but it's in the middle, so who cares? We'll scoot it over to the left or right just a little bit here. There's an indication of the sun right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Just a little indication of the sun maybe shining. Let's brighten him up now. There we go. A little extra white there. When you paint with your finger, you might not even need brushes. And you're just trying to keep the sun kind of circular. Same thing as a moon. You don't want like a square moon. If it gets a little wonky on you, so what? Now, we'll do like Bob does. Make sure my knife's clean. I got a lot of paint there. I can always do this. Go like that. Get rid of it. And if you noticed, I did not clean my knife. Got a little green there somehow. I'll leave it. Won't bother me. Alright, here's a good teaching moment. I don't like that. I guess there was color on my knife from when I painted last. Watch this. Paper towel. Boom. Gone. Go back with my 1 inch. If you try to use a brush there, that was not planned. Try to use a brush there, you just wouldn't get rid of that green. Yeah, I had something on my knife previously. It looks like it was probably mountain mix, which would be the reason that yellow kind of turned green. So always clean your tools. Don't be like me. Let's put our sun back in though real quick. We'll just kind of leave it a little more diffused this time. There we go. You may see this video. We're already having issues here. There we go. There we go. And there's really not much to this painting. Once we get past the sky, there's some rocks. That's about it. So I'm going to take this brush here, and maybe there's just a little bit of a hint of some dark around the sun. Kind of tap. If not, kind of. You can do little circles if you wanted to. I just want a little something there. There we go. Now let's call our sky. Somebody put a time on that sky there. Shouldn't have taken us that long, but it did, and we'll say it's okay. All right, now we're going to get to use the knife. Aren't you excited? Now we're going to make sure that Bram's knife is good and clean this time, so that we don't get green. We don't want green in our sky, do we? Looks good and bright though. What we are going to do is take a little white and a little yellow ochre, maybe a touch of Indian yellow, and make a bright color. Just kind of mix those together. You don't really need to see it. There's no certain formula, just something. You could use straight white here. And we gotta decide, somewhere back in here you'd be like, well, that's just a sky brim. Where's the ocean? Well, where is the ocean? Where's that ocean at? It's right there. I'm gonna make a little line with my knife there in that bit of color that I had. And here's the thing about this, you want to try and keep this fairly level. Since we didn't tape it off, if you wanted to, you could tape it off. I'm just going to tap in a little bit here, right under my sun, maybe a little higher. There we go. Just kind of a line back there in the horizon. Something like that. Now, it may be crooked. Guess what? I don't really care. Art like this is not meant to be perfect. I used to try to make every little line straight, every little thing perfect, and then it takes the fun out of it. So let loose sometimes and not worry about if everything is perfect in your painting. You don't have to be perfect. The world's not perfect, we're not perfect, so just kind of let it go. Now if you start going like that, it might look weird, but if it's your paint, I don't care if it looks weird. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre in there. And we're just kind of setting the water in here for right now. Just getting my horizon line, I guess. That's what I should call it. There we go. And it's a little crooked maybe, but I'm going to chop it off a good bit here in a minute. And do a couple other things to it, so I think it'll be fine. So one thing we want to do, and again, you could bring that water line down to here, that horizon line. It's better if you don't want to cut it in half. I think it looks nicer. That's my opinion. You do what you want to do. Again, you got to be happy with it, not me. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of the brown, maybe a smidge of white, just to kind of, I don't want it to be super dark yet. And when I say a smidge, it's just a touch of white. And you'll see the color up here on the canvas when I get to it. Something like that. And right here, we're going to make some little strike down trees. Kick that brush up towards the ceiling a little bit and just kind of strike down. And reload your brush every so often, because if not, it starts looking odd. You get, just isn't working well. So reload that brush as needed. And don't worry about how these look really right yet, because a lot of this gets covered. It's one of those things I'm doing. It's just, you'll see a little bit of it, but not all of it. That makes sense. And really, you could put this in with a 1-inch. You could just smack some color on here. And I want them to go about to right there. Okay? Work them back and keep raising them up, letting them drop. Raising them up, letting them drop. And we'll work on these and make them look a little nicer too. Cover up your line that we put on there, which you probably didn't need to. Okay, there we go. We'll grab a little bit more and just kind of go back through a couple of them, and they aren't as straight as I'd like. And I'm going to look at them. I'm going to make sure that I don't have patterns. Patterns are not what we want. Okay, there we go. I think that's okay. I almost got a pattern. You look at it, you say you got a pattern. What if I did this? What if I raised one of them up really high right there? I think that would look nice. And again, maybe just bring it out just a touch more there. Okay. And all this down to the bottom, can you imagine what we're going to do with it? I bet you can. Grab us a brush that's not too dirty. Again, you won't see a lot of this anyway. Just add some dark here. Kind of put our dark in there. Maybe raise these up now. Just kind of pull up on them, 2 hairs and some air. All right. Now, I wanted to, I could go to a 1-inch brush, and maybe there's another little something here, a little island. Maybe this is what the trees sit on, I don't know. It's really just to put something back here. Because the painting that I painted that's similar to this one had this, and it looked nice. They raised some of that color up. Let that come out a little bit. Maybe that is a little island that the trees are sitting on. Who knows? Yeah, I like that. There we go. As I said, if you're watching this, I'm not like Bob. Bob always had a reference painting off to the side that you could look at. I've got one, but it's way different than this. So, similar colors, and I'm going to do it a little differently. There we go. And I'm just going to brush over the whole thing, brush up, diffuse it. Okay? Now we know that if we had water there in here, there'd be some water to get back into here, right? So we'll just kind of do this. And we can always go back later and add a little bit more if we want to. There we go. Okay. And I just kind of saw and I'm pushing. You see how I'm pushing my finger on that knife? That's about the only time I'll put my finger on the blade. That and when I'm doing the mountain shape. I usually put my finger on there. For these ones, maybe just kind of brush them out a little bit. There we go. There, that looks better. Okay. Now the hard part. We'll just leave our water back there kind of running away from it. It is going uphill a little bit. I'm getting ready to fix that. So don't fret. Here we go. Let's take some brown and maybe just a touch of that black I had out. Like mostly brown, like that. But a little bit of black. Yeah, that black helps just a little bit. Darkens it, and that's what we probably need. Alright, you ready for me to mess the painting up completely? Because I'm a-fixin' to. Oh, there's a mountain in this painting. You're what? It's an ocean. Well, it's kind of an ocean. I'm just looking at getting my angle right here. Yeah, I like that a little bit more dark in there. It kind of comes down and I'm just going to lay it out right there. Okay? Just fill this in with dark. We may kind of mess up the top of it too. You put it on there pretty thick. Just don't use all your color. You do want a little bit of texture on there because we're going to put some rocks, you know. So we'll kind of grab the rocks, or grab the highlight, I guess I should say. Maybe there's a little jut there, and this one comes down. You can just kind of scrub that color in there. There is no right or wrong way to do this, right? You know that. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work for what we want. I don't want this one to kind of come out maybe a little bit more. Oh, yeah. We could go out here and sit and watch that water come in. Right there, and then maybe there's a little dark in there. Just scrub it in. You see, this is a very loose painting. You don't have to worry about too much. And remember, if you don't like something, you just change it. There we go. A big rock shape there, and we'll go ahead, since we've got the paint here on the knife, there's another one over here. Something like that. Yeah, that'll work. Perfect. Just pull some of this down. This one doesn't have to be as big. Also doesn't have to be as perfect. We're not ready to mess with it. We'll mess with it in a minute. So there. Got a nice couple of dark places. That one's a little bit lighter in the background. It's got a nice glow on our inner sky. And now we get to have some fun. And I think I will show you my palette. And I'm using palette paper just because I didn't want to clean my palette. I just throw this paper away when I'm done. Or leave it out for the next painting. I'm going to grab some white. And we'll grab some of that Van Dyke brown. Maybe a touch of that black. And I'm going to put those down. Okay. A little bit more brown. There we go. And I'm going to leave them marbled just like that. Now, May even throw a little bit of yellow in there. Okay? Let's see what that looks like. We'll take this knife, and you can do this with something besides a knife if you're more comfortable with that. And just kind of start thinking about some highlights on there. Y'all see that? I'm going to put the palette back down since I showed you my marbled color. It's just easier on me to not have to hold it. Alright. There we go. We know that the sun's there, so the upper side of this rock would be much brighter, right, than like down in here. So we're going to put a highlight on it, and then we'll add another highlight. And I'm just touching and maybe finding little crevices here where rocks would be. You can even do this. Just kind of let the knife move just like that. Will not hurt anything. Alright. A little brown in there. It's getting a little gray on me. There we go. Maybe that one comes down. There's a little bit in there. Alright, and this is just the first layer. I'll show you what I'm talking about just in a second. Just finding our shape of our rock. Finding our rock shape, I guess. And I'm just reloading my knife as I need to. Maybe there. Just a little highlight there. And maybe there's a little bit here, but not much. Be mostly dark, and I'm just going to kind of scoot that knife. Let the canvas pull off what it wants. Maybe there's a little bit hits right there somehow. We can have an imagination, can't we? I think we can. And before I forget, what we should do here is pull this down into the water a little bit. I forgot that step, guys. You're supposed to remind me. There we go. Just a little bit. Don't pull it all the way down. And you pull more over here, of course, because it's larger on this side. A little bit more. There we go. Go across it. 2 hairs and some air. Very gentle. And maybe turn it this way. Just kind of tickle that little area there. Always go across it horizontally. Don't go like this, or, you know, and go straight across. Straight across. There we go. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I might want a little bit more right there. There we go. And just kind of, just like that. Now, if I'm going to tell you, I always try to be honest about a painting. I would stay away from the black. That rock's almost too dark to my eyes. Just use the brown. So if you're watching me, just use the brown when you do that. Hopefully I catch you in time. If not, it's fine. It's not that bad. Okay. We've got some highlights on there, but that's not bright enough for me. So what I want to do, if I've got some clean room on my palette paper here, I'm going to take some white and some Indian yellow. Clean my knife off. Make sure you clean your knife off. Maybe a touch of yellow ochre too. Now let's brighten these up. I'm just going to touch here and there. A little bit brighter highlight on those rocks. Especially down right here. Just kind of work that knife. I'm using no pressure on this. If you use pressure, it won't work. It won't work for you. There we go. You see that nice yellow coming off there? Now I will tell you, this can be a muddy mess, so be careful. This is just like a little rock you go out on. There's a little bit right there. We don't have to put this everywhere, because this rock, honestly, gets covered up quite a bit. Maybe there's a little bit, like I said, we'll just imagine that there's a little light zinging over there. I don't know. Maybe right there. Wherever, just find a couple spots. It looks nice. It's better than just all that brown. Maybe down in the water, it's quite bright right there. And if you use pressure, you will make a mess. So be careful. All right, now the fun part. Now the fun begins. All right, I had to go get my thinner bucket. I clean out in the garage, so I'm not back here in my office. And I'd advise you to do that. It's not good to have this thinner just everywhere. It doesn't smell good for one. And you may not need it, but I think I will. So, we're going to make some trees. And you may go get mad at me. I'm going to stick with the filbert brush, okay? It's just what I like right now. You get in moods. Fan brush will work just fine. I'm going to take a little bit of the black, tiny little bit of the black, and go into the brown and load up a lot of color. And this is brown, should load up a lot of dark. Should say, not very colorful. All right. You know what? I think I'm going to do one different thing than I did before. I'm going to take my knife and get me that little roll of paint, and I'm going to find where these little trees live. Maybe I've got one right here. Okay. Maybe another one up here. This is a little coastal pines, we'll call them. Let's go touch my starting points. That get me going here. This one's a little taller, I think. This one's a little shorter than the tall one. Right there. You're like, why are you putting fence posts on your rock? Well, it looks like, doesn't it? And then maybe we've got one that kind of comes all the way up here. But look how far this one comes down. This is why I said you gotta be probably gonna need a little thinner here to get through all that rock paint. And I want to show you what to do with that. And if you're new, be careful. It'd be better to not put as much paint on your rocks as I did. Now we've got another one that kind of swoops in right through here. We'll put him in at the end. He's got a little bent to him. He's a little bent. All right, let's do some little trees. We'll start with this one. I've got my filbert loaded up quite a bit. Now one thing I want you to make sure is that your water line is not going to, you could go ahead and start putting that in a little bit down lower if you need to. Because this tree, it may get in there. I'm not worried about it for me. It's just a tiny little tree right there anyway. We don't really worry about it too much. This little guy just sits right there on that rock. He's a baby. And then you got another one up here, a little bit bigger. If you've been watching recently, you know I've developed a love for this little filbert brush, especially for these little coastal pines, because they don't, the fan, unless you got a number 3, which would work great to keep these a little smaller. I think this just works great for small little bitty pine trees or evergreen trees, whatever. And then I push that one into the rock. Come over here, my hand's gonna probably be in the way of the camera for a minute. I'm still learning how to video things, guys, and be effective at it. I hope these look decent. I don't want to put, you know, awful looking things out. There we go. And then when I get here is where I said I may need a touch of thinner. And when I say a touch, I'm just maybe 2 hairs are touching into my thinner. Maybe. Maybe not even 2. And the reason I did that is it should go over, yep, it is, most of that paint. And you can also use, if you want to stay out thinner, you could try to thin it with some liquid clear, maybe. That one sits on that rock. And. So this is, like I said, an easy little seascape. Super easy one to do because there's not a big crashing wave. The thing that people will hate the most will be the rocks. The rocks can get difficult somewhat. Remember, a rock's just a sideways mountain. So if you can paint a mountain, you can paint a rock. There we go. And if we wanted to make our trunk for the next tree, let's take our fan brush and do it. Just be easier. That's why I have 82 brushes laying out. I usually use them all. And this one's almost as tall as that one. Well, we'll just make it as tall. I'm going to put a little on that one. There we go. And yeah, right there. A little thicker trunk because this is the big guy. This one actually sits all the way, if you believe it or not, on this. Don't get too fat. I've almost got mine too fat right there. Somewhere we may have to put him a little foot down there. I ran him into the water almost. Do better than me. Don't run him into water. Don't make your tree live in the water. And this will be a little bigger one, so. And we'll keep it kind of sparse at this top. Now if we wanted to, we could throw a highlight on these. I'm not going to for the video. Well, I may on this one just so you guys can see it. I'm not going to do them all. How about that? We'll cover up our little guy. Or cover him up if he doesn't look good. That's an easy way to do it. So this painting was inspired by the coast of Oregon and places out west. Right there. When you get into that rock, you may need a touch of thinner again. Don't use too much. And honestly, if you pick up a little bit of the under color, what it does, it just acts as a highlight almost. A little bit there. You guys can see that. Yeah, it looks okay. Yep. Now what I was saying right here, I ran him too low. Let's do this. Let's put just a little bit dark back there. Maybe. I got no water, I'll fix that in a second. Go back to our colors. It should be right here somewhere. There we go. Grab a couple little things. And maybe there's a little foot there that little guy sits on. In the water, and we take our brush and we can even grab a little bit of that for reflection if we wanted to. That's a happy little accident right there. There we go. Alright. What I was saying, if you wanted to, you could take your knife and just touch a little highlight here or there. If you had to, you could go back over your tree just to make sure it doesn't look odd. There we go. We'll do that. Knock that back down in. A couple of spots. There we go. That's fine. Alright. Got that. That looks okay. The thing I don't like is that area right there is almost too dark. So I'm going to diffuse that just a little bit more with my brush. You're like, we don't have an ocean. I don't see any waves. There might be a big wave, but there'll be something. Alright, let's do a rock over here, and then we'll do our water, and then we're done. This took a lot longer than I thought because I spent so much time on the sky. You could do this painting on a smaller can. This is 16 by 20 that I'm using. In no time. There's not much to it. Change it. Make it better than mine. Alright. Oh, one thing we could do back here. Hold on. We could take our knife. I better clean my knife off. That's all what happens if you don't keep a clean knife. Running out of room on the palette here. There we go, that'll work. Let's go ahead The water just runs in here, and you could touch it on just by touching and tapping, kind of like this. Don't be scared to just touch it, and if it gets a little chunky on you, just move it around. I like to saw it in here. I like to saw a little water on in here. That is a little crooked back here, isn't it? We'll raise it up just right there. There, that's better. I think. Remember, I don't care if I'm perfect, because I'm far from it. And the reason I'm putting this in, going ahead and putting this in, is, you'll see just in a second. Right there, that's all we need to go for now. Indication of some water movement. Movement in the water. I'm going to take my script liner here and get some brown. Thin it down like I showed you on the script liner video to an ink consistency. And we got a happy little stick tree that lives out here. Need a little more thinner. I intended this to be kind of like the Karate Kid and the bonsai thing. Like a little, pop that up. Okay. Now we got our one stick there. Now we'll just draw some little things off of it. The paint is really thick tonight. Not wanting to thin down for me. There we go. Remember, you gotta have that good thin paint or it won't cut through all the rest of this stuff that's already on here. Maybe I'm gonna raise this guy up a little bit. Right there. And right there, wherever. And for sake of keeping the video not to be an hour long, we'll probably stop. Something like that. We can always kind of set that in the rock. Just walk it back a little bit into the shadow, maybe. There we go. Need one more branch on it, guys. I'm sorry. It needs one right here. Just kind of like that. There we go. Old craggly type tree there. All right. So we've got to come back with our marble. Make sure that we use back here. We get some brown and all that stuff that we had before. There we go. Put a little more yellow in this because this definitely would get the sunlight. Just right there. Don't worry about the shape of this one. Just kind of do like a mountain. More white in there. Kind of let it bounce and play. Let me feel that corner up there. Bounce and play. There. That's all you need, really. If you wanted to, you could take a little extra white and yellow, maybe. A little bit brighter color. Now we did that before. And maybe catch a couple areas. A little bit more. Maybe right there. Yeah, there. There we go. I like that. Just a touch more. Maybe right there. And I see one more spot. Since that's so close to the sun, let's just put it right there. There we go. Okay. Now guess what? You gotta make more trees. more trees, and we will just take our dirty fan that we had, and I'll find it where there it is, and I need just a drop of color, just a drop of color, brown and black. You can hear Squeaky Chair going crazy tonight. Brown and black. Mostly, on this one, the other painting I did that was similar was mostly browns. This one's a little darker. Almost, I kind of like it, but it's a little different looking, so I haven't decided exactly. And the reason I'm just going to do this, just because I had it laying here. You could do the same brush. You can paint these with the fan, draw a little line with the fan. I bounce around, you know that. One about right there. I'm going to make a little line on the canvas. Drag my fan brush down to wherever I think this guy would land, maybe right there. Okay. My fan brush is a little... There we go. I didn't have it loaded well. There we go. Now let's put our other trunk in here. We got two of these guys. Right here at this cloud. And these guys are friends, so we don't want them to be too far apart. Wherever. You can stop that one, wherever. Yeah, since this one is a little smaller size, we'll just bring him on down so that maybe he's actually bigger. He's just growing further down. Alright, go back to my filbert now. I loaded up, goodness, with a lot of paint, right? This brush is heavy from the paint. Heavy from the paint. I'll tell you what we should do real quick. Clean our knife. Grab some kind of light color, an orange, yellow. And just maybe, let's just touch a little edge on that. You see that? And just a little bit. Doesn't have to be much. I'm just touching it on. You could pull it on kind of like a birch tree if you wanted to. I just want a little bit. Most of the trunk will get covered anyway. I'm just touching on the outside edge. Just a smidge of something. Just a smidge. A bit more on that one there. There we go. Okay. Got our fan, or filbert, and we will just carefully start working some little things off of it. Bouncing down. A little bit bigger there. Cover up some of our trees in the back. Okay. I probably won't highlight these, honestly. You could. I'm enjoying silhouetted things. And really whatever you think what the painting needs. Put it in it. Put it in it. And you may not like it. Be like, I'm not painting that one, Brand. It's not a very good one. Some people don't like yellow. I tell you what we should do. Better stop. I'm just realizing that we better get our water line on in here. And sneak a little bit over here. If I grab a little bit of that black, it won't hurt. There we go. There we go. I'm just sawing it in here, right? Nothing at all to this. I do need a little bit back in there, but I'm not going to worry about it. So if you're watching me paint this one instead of painting along with me, put your water in there. Let's do that. Put your water line in before you do the trunks on the trees. Just wasn't thinking right. It was an early day today. I'm blaming on that. Also that I'm forgetful. When we get down in here, I can kind of stop. I just want to get it past that tree. And I've picked up a little brown in the water. It's fine. Just don't let it get too dark. Alright. Let's paint this guy. And I'm thinking down here, you won't see the water anyway. Watch this. Oh, doesn't really matter, does it? Trees will hide a multitude of sin, is what Bob would say. And it's true. A little tree in there, and you can do whatever. There we go. And cover up that little spot I made there. Watch this. I'm not even going to see back there where I didn't put the water. And then maybe, you might have to take a touch of thinner to get this on here, but I think this one needs just a little bit down here. I'm fine with that. Got a little muddy. Just kind of smushed the color together. There we go. Alright, we've got our trees in. Let's do a little bit more. And we'll put our water in and we're done. And I'm sorry this one took a little longer than normal. Especially since there's not much to it, really. Not a lot to the painting. Alright, so we know we got another probably stick tree down here. Make sure your water... Yeah, let's wait. Let's wait. I caught myself, guys. that won't matter. I caught myself. Almost did it again. Alright, I'm going to take some yellow and white. So you're choosing there if you're painting this. It can be really yellow or it can be mostly white. And I'm going to go in here first. I'm going to start working some color in here. I'm working it around these rocks. Just kind of sawing it in here. Back in there even. It's flowing back in there. I'm going to start working it in here, and I'm going to go over my little tree I put in there. But I'm just not on it tonight. Okay. So, very easily put this in here, just putting some water lines. This is just water running up here. Maybe there's a little sand over there, but I don't know. It's just water kind of crashing up in here. You can smash it and just kind of run it that way. And it looks like it's kind of just lapping up on the, we'll call this a little bit sand. So we'll have a little sand in here. I'm just working that knife back, and I'm going to just drag, show you here, just dragging a little bit of this color back with the knife. Easiest way to make it look like water. Don't cover it all up, because some of that will be nice glassy effects that you'll have. And that glassy effect really is nice. But we've got one main wave in here. We'll put it right here. And it just kind of goes like that. Okay. They're kind of all going to run like that. A little bit more paint. A little bit more. Right in there. You see how hard I'm pushing that knife? I'm working back towards that rock right there. There we go. Now, with our knife, we'll just work some of that back. Almost got my tree there, I kind of did. And it just kind of pushing up onto our little sand that we have. Right? Now if you wanted to, we'll clean my white and get it a little whiter. If you wanted to, you could throw a little bit here, just kind of like it's lapping over right on that one. Just kind of pull over, pull over, pull over. Not a crasher, so don't worry, it's just kind of a foamy effect. See that? A little bit of foam there. We'll put a little bit back here if we wanted to. Just here and there, like it's. Maybe that one's kind of doing something there. Walk a little bit of that back. There we go. If you don't like one, just walk it back and let it be just water. Okay. I kind of like that one. This is the easiest way to just make water effects that kind of looks like the ocean. This is not one of those crashers. However you want it there. And what we should do probably right here is, as I found my brush, I got a brush that's not too dirty. Not too dirty. Let's get under here with just a touch of white. I'm just pulling a little bit of that down. That's there. Just I got a little bit of my brown, but that's okay. Okay. I'll take one of my soft 2 inches. Just kind of work that back a little bit. There we go. A little bit of sandy, glassy, sandy stuff there. If we need to, we can clean this back up. I think we needed to. I messed it up a little bit. Just push really hard and scoot that knife around. Let that kind of do that. Oh, that's nice. And we can even, if we wanted to, we could even throw a little bit right there. So it looks like it keeps on running up there. It looks really glassy right now. I think I'm going to stop. And we'll finish up a couple little things and we've got her done. Got her done. Again, you could throw a couple of highlights on your trees if you wanted to. There's the little guy. We better continue him on up. We'll have to have a little thinner there. If you by chance hear something that sounds like somebody snoring, my dog is right behind me on her dog bed, snoring away. She said, "Dad, it's too late to be painting. Let's go to bed." I said, "This is when I like to paint." So she laid down on her bed and is snoring away. Putting a few little guys off of this one. Again, I really like these. This is almost like another monochromatic, sorta. It's got about 3-4 colors in it, I guess, and you could do it with really just 2. You'd use the brown and the yellow. You'd have to have white too. I never count white as one of the colors. We can do this if we want to. Put a little bit of cattails or something on here. You don't typically see those out west, but we'll just throw them in here just so you guys can see them. Just some grass kind of growing up there, and if you want to just touch on there a little bit. And what else? What else do we want? What else do we want? Oh, I like to do this for these trees. Take a little bit of the dark and maybe in those spots where you can see through them, you see little things that kind of hang out. The branches and things. Remember, these don't just have foliage. Something's holding that foliage up. So sometimes you'll see those little branches come out. And you can get too many, but I kind of like them. Just wherever. You'll see a few of them. And then maybe one last thing. I said I wasn't going to, but I think I changed my mind. I'm going to take a touch of liquid clear, touch of yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and white. And you know what's coming. You know what's coming. Maybe just a touch on here. I want to leave them mostly nice and dark. You have to have some thinner. You gotta have liquid clear. You gotta have something to thin that down so it sticks to that paint that's already there. No, it'll just make a muddy mess. Just smush all your color together. Walking a little bit of color on these guys. Just here and there. Mainly on that right side especially. I don't think my paint's quite thin enough, but I'm not going to do much here. Do this. I think we'll call the painting finished. And I'll put this one on the tube. If you guys know that because you're probably watching it on the tube. Oh no, what's hip for YouTube? I don't know what the kids are saying. Something like that, maybe touch right there. Just touch, just put something. There we go. All right, let's sign it. We want to sign our paintings if we like them, and this one's not too bad. Not too bad. I'll take some brown, I think, and go right here. And go. Wow. Seems like my letters get bigger as I go across. Here we go. We got a finished painting, a finished walkthrough of a painting. You guys can do this one better than me, change it up. But it's really, took us a little bit, but it's not a hard one at all. The rocks are probably the hardest thing in it. And you could leave those out. You could just put trees if you wanted to. Put a smaller rock maybe. But there it is. Let's just kind of, pause and they're back. All right. There is the finished painting. It's quite bright. I kind of like it. Hope you guys like it. If you like it, leave a good comment down there. If you paint it, share it on, I don't know if you can share a picture in the comments. I don't think you can. Maybe you can. You can always email it to me. My email is on the page. But have fun with it and share it, like it, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll keep doing these for you guys. That's fun for me. Go to work on getting a little better mic. I know I trail off sometimes, but I'll get better at that. So everybody stay well, be well, and be kind to each other, okay? See you guys down the road.